have another book to share with you. This one is called Milo and the Magical Stones. We've got lots of M words in this book because we have M for Milo, we have M for magical, and M for mouse, because this is a story about some mice. This is a fun book because there's a happy ending and a sad ending. So we'll read both endings and see which one you like best. Milo and the Magical Stones by Marcus Pfister. In the middle of the sea there was an island, and on this island lived Milo and the other cliff mice. They loved their island. It provided them with food and shelter and protection from the rough storms that pounded waves against the cliffs. During the summer, Milo and his friends worked hard gathering food. Sometimes they would take a break from their work and skip flat stones out over the sea. And in the evenings, the mice would stretch out on the cliffs that had been warmed by the sun and watch the stars in the night sky. If it was warm enough, they would spend the entire night outside telling stories and enjoying the mild summer air. But when the first winter storms arrived, the mice would spend most of the time huddled in their dark, damp caves, dreaming of light and warmth. After one of these storms, Milo crept out from his cave looking for food. He poked his nose curiously into every crevice, and then, in a particularly deep crevice, he saw something extraordinary. A strange glowing stone. Using a long stick, he carefully pried it out and carried it back to his cave. Milo was amazed to see that the darker it got, the more brightly the stone glowed. And not only did it provide light, it also gave off a comforting warmth. Happily, Milo curled up in the corner of the cave with his treasure, but he was not alone for long because the bright light soon attracted the other mice. Everyone wanted a stone of their own, and they asked Milo to show them where he had found his. But just as they were about to set off, wise Baltzar stood up and spoke. "Don't forget," he said, "the stones belong to the island. If you take something from the island, you must give something in return." Now we're on to the two endings. So we're going to start with the sad ending. Only Milo heeded Baltzar's warning. He immediately began thinking about what gift he could give to the island. But the other mice hurried off to find the glowing stones. They squeezed into the tunnel and they started chipping away wildly using sharp rocks. They chipped away at the walls of the island and they tossed away the smaller stones. They only wanted the biggest. So the mice are being very greedy, right? They want more and more stones. They only want the biggest and the brightest stones. And they're not giving anything back to the island to say thank you. That is sad. And then the mice dragged the glowing stones into their caves. They grew greedy and jealous. They spent much of their time worrying about who had the most stones. And they couldn't even enjoy the ones they had. Milo watched his friends sadly. He worried about what Baltzar had said, and he wondered what would happen. He sighed. There was nothing he could do but get back to work on his gift that he thought he would give to the island. So Milo's doing the right thing, right? But the other mice didn't listen. Soon the mice decided that they needed more of the magical stones. They crept back into the tunnel and they dug away day and night, piling the magical stones in and around their caves until the whole island glowed. They boasted and they bragged about their stones. They argued about who had the most and the biggest and the brightest. The mice, consumed with greed, they dug deeper and deeper. The walls around the mountain got thinner and thinner, and before long, the mountain was hollowed out completely. Then suddenly, with a thunderous roar, the mountain collapsed. Giant boulders fell, burying the tunnels in a heap of rubble, and the waves pounded against the shore, flooding the island. So they dug so deeply that the walls got so thin that the whole thing just fell. And now there's nothing left. It is sad. Only one cave was left. Inside, Milo and Baltzar crouched trembling in a corner. The stones could have brought us such happiness, said Baltzar quietly. As he spoke, Milo went back to work, carving a stone to give to the island in thanks for his magical gift. So there's the stone he carved as a gift. All right, I think it's time for a happy ending, don't you? Let's read the happy ending. Baltzar is right, said Milo. But what could Milo give to the island? He thought about it for many days until at last he had an idea. He went down to the shore where the sea washed up all kinds of stones, and he looked for one that was about the same size as the one he had taken. He sat down and he started chipping away at the stone. Curious, the other mice gathered around. Milo worked for hours until he carved a beautiful sun in the stone. And then Milo led his friends to the hidden crevice in the mountain and put his carved stone in the place where he had found the glowing stone. The other mice began digging. Directly below the crevice, they found a tunnel that ran deep into the mountain. The further the mountain they went, the more glowing stones they found, and each mouse took one and carefully carried it home. And then, like Milo, they found ordinary stones along the shore and they decorated them. Some mice carved, etched, or drew on their stones. Others wrapped them or decorated them with flowers, leaves, or roots. They created beautiful works of art and then carried them deep into the mountain and placed their gifts where they had found the glowing stones. From then on, the windy winter weather did not bother the mice, who snuggled happily in their bright, warm caves. Often they got together and told stories just like they did in the summertime. These gatherings made the long, cold nights seem shorter and the winter less damp and dark. And every year the mice celebrated the beginning of the winter. They met in Baltzar's cave and they danced and they sang. And when it got dark, they took the magical stones on a parade along the cliffs as a special tribute to their beloved island. What did you think of the happy ending? I liked how the mice just took one stone each because that's all they needed. And then they said thank you to the island for giving them the warmth of the stones. That was a happy ending. I hope you liked that book. See you next time.